Greetings. In today's video, we will discuss how to use our speech more wisely in Buddhism. There are 5 rules that should be considered before saying anything. These rules help not only in cases where you need to point out a mistake to a person, but also in everyday communication. Following them, you will notice how your speech begins to have a positive impact on you. So, why is it important to be aware of the power of words? The well-known expression, words can create and they can destroy. Understanding this gives us the opportunity. In Buddhism, we are taught to ask ourselves 5 questions before we say something. Am I speaking at the right time? One of the key points of wise communication is choosing the right time to convey information. It may be misunderstood or completely ignored. It is voiced at the wrong moment. What does it mean? Sometimes, a person may be in a state of anger, stress, or frustration, and then his mind is closed to perception at such moments. It is better to postpone the conversation until he calms down, for example. If you want to point out a mistake, do it when the person is in a calm state. Otherwise, your message can only cause a defensive reaction and not an awareness of how. To determine the right time before you start talking, ask yourself, if this person can hear me now, is he ready to accept what I am saying? I want to say that it is important to be sensitive to the emotional state of the interlocutor and choose the moment when his words can be. The second is whether I am telling the truth. The truth? This tattva is one of the cornerstones of Buddhist ethics of speech. The Buddha taught that the truth should always be at the heart of our words. However, it is important not only to tell the truth, but also to speak it consciously and in appropriate circumstances. What does it mean to tell the truth? It does not always mean to say everything you think. There is a difference between truth and harshness. When you see that someone made a mistake, to tell him about it directly is true. But it is important to choose the right time and form of submission so that this truth does not harm the benefits of telling the truth. You gain trust in the truth, but it requires wisdom to be able to feel when and how best to voice it. When your speech is based on truthfulness, it leads to temporary losses in relationships and work, but in the long run, it creates trust and respect, which is much more important. Third, whether I speak softly and tenderly, the tone of our speech is of great importance. The Buddha said that it's important not only what we say, but also how we do it. Even if you're telling the truth and doing it on time, but you're using harsh words, the message may not be heard why it is important. People usually react to the tone in which they are told something, sometimes more strongly than to the content itself. If you criticize someone rudely or pejoratively, even with the best intentions, most likely the person will simply close up and not perceive your message. Rudeness causes defensive reactions, and instead of correcting the mistake, a person may start to defend themselves or take offense. Gentleness. As a power to speak softly and with respect is not a weakness, but a manifestation of wisdom and compassion. Soft words have power, beliefs, open hearts and minds. This is especially important when you want to help a person correct a mistake or understand something important. Gentleness does not mean compliance or hypocrisy. It is a manifestation of concern about how your message will be received, whether my words are useful. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of our speech being useful to another person. It is important not to just to express your thoughts, but also to think about how our words affect other people's lives, how it works. Before you say something, ask yourself, the question is whether my words will help this person, whether they are beneficial, or whether improving another person's life should affect their development and growth. Even criticism should be constructive. The goal is to help, not to hurt the intention behind the words. When we speak with good intentions, we strive to ensure that our message is beneficial. Sometimes, this may be an indication of a mistake, but if it is uttered with care, it will help a person to become a better person and not harm himself. And the intentions with which we speak determine the power and influence of our words. If we speak out of love and compassion, our speech has a positive charge and promotes harmony. But if our words hide anger or hatred, they can cause harm, even if they sound positive from the outside. Why is it important that people feel the intention behind the words? Even if we say something right, but we do it with internal aggression or hatred, it is transmitted at the energy level. It creates a negative atmosphere. Not only what we say is important, but also why we say it. The example of compassion taught by the Buddha is important. Speaking with good intentions, out of love, and not out of hidden malice, helps to create an atmosphere of trust and respect. For example, if you want to help a person cope with their shortcomings, do it with care and a sincere desire to help, and not with the aim of humiliating or showing your superiority. Speech is a powerful tool that can change our lives and the lives of people around us. Buddhism teaches that words have power, and the responsibility for their use lies with each of us. Following the 5 key principles of wise speech, we can, not only to improve your relationships, but also to do things at the right time. It is important to be able to feel the moment when your words can be most useful and heard. Awareness in choosing the time for a conversation helps to avoid unnecessary conflicts and misunderstandings, and makes your communication more effective. Telling the truth is the foundation of a trusting relationship and long-term interaction. Not only to be honest, but also to know when and how best to convey this truth. To speak softly, gently, is the ability to use words that do not hurt, but heal. Gentleness is not a weakness. It is a manifestation of strength of character and caring for the other person. When you speak with respect, people are more willing to accept your message and can change for the better. Speaking usefully is an obligation to make your speech constructive and aimed at the benefit of others. If your words do not help, or they contribute to development, it's worth considering whether they need to be said. Your words should be a tool for creating goodness and improving life. Speaking with love and compassion to others is a reminder that your intentions are as important as your words themselves. You are burning with love and care, and your words reach deep understanding and response from the other person. Compassion should be the driving force behind any communication. These 5 principles create the basis for wiser, more informed, and effective communication. They help us realize that each of our phrases can either bring light into another person's life or overshadow it. So it's important to be attentive to that, what we say when we speak, and how we do it. Because words can bring healing if we use them correctly. Ultimately, following these principles will not only improve your relationships with others, but also strengthen your inner peace. Conscious speech is not only a way to express thoughts, but also a path to inner peace and harmony. Every time you will speak, remember your words have the power to change reality, and it is up to you to decide whether this change will be creative or destructive. If this video was useful for you and helped you understand how to use words more wisely, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new lessons and tips that will help you become more conscious and harmonious in everyday life. Share this video with your friends because wise words can change not only your life, but also the lives of others.